Eldest, thank you very much for the video submission. I really do appreciate it. As always, looking and sounding great. Your question is, at what point does it become reasonable to start dedicating your living space to your hobbies? That, good sir, is a fantastic question. And I may be coping. I may be coping real hard. I think it is more than acceptable to allow your hobbies to spill into your living space. Let me explain why I am probably coping. In my living room, I have another setup where I also test out microphones. It's where I do my untreated room test. In my hallway, I have multiple shelves full of microphones and audio gear. In my home, I have a second bathroom that is unused that I use to store more audio equipment. That's a lot of living space that is filled up by my hobby. So perhaps I am giving you this advice because I am coping. But I think it's okay because hobbies are how we choose to spend our free time. And to sound very hippy-dippy, I mean, I do wear bracelets now. Look out. Hippie incoming. Still shower, though. What I am trying to say is how we spend our free time is what brings us joy. It's what we do to unwind from a stressful day. It's what makes living worthwhile. Whether you love to play guitar, whether you love podcasting, gaming, going for runs, those are all hobbies. That is how we choose to spend our limited free time in this world. And if we have one hobby, that is a gift. If we have multiple, that's even better. If we have multiple hobbies that bring us so much joy that we have to fill up our entire home buying CDs and DVDs and microphones and guitars, that is a beautiful thing because now you will never be bored. You shouldn't ever feel unfulfilled because I know you shouldn't rely on physical items to feel fulfillment, and that's not what it's about. It's about having something that you are so passionate about. Listening to music and saying, oh my God, my life is changing by listening to this album. By playing guitar and having that smile come across your face. I just wrote the coolest riff I have ever heard. I am so thrilled. I just recorded a podcast that I think is world-changing because I talked about farts and the proper microphone technique for doing it. To get the best transient response, you need to be off-axis from the anal lips. Gross! You get my point, though. That is how we spend our free time. That is the most important thing that we do. That may sound hedonistic, and I am coming from this as a non-parent. Your child is going to be the most important thing for parents. But for me, as a selfish individual who is single, who does not have a child in their future currently, those hobbies are incredibly important to me. So I think it is more than okay to fill some of your living space with your hobby. That's going to be different from person to person. If you have roommates, they may not want your microphones and guitars taking up the living room. If you're dating, it may not be a good idea to have hallways full of microphones and microphones stacked up in the bathroom because they may think you're weird. If you're a streamer and you have a camera and microphone set up in your bedroom and you're bringing somebody home, may want to think twice. Not going to come off too well. So these are things you need to consider as well. I think it is okay to allow your hobbies, the items surrounding your hobby, to take up some living space, but you need to understand how that's going to impact your life, whether it be your social life, whether it be your dating life, whether it be your home bliss. What would it be called? Domestic bliss with your roommates. So that's my answer. I think it's perfectly okay. Let me give you a caveat. I would be so much happier if all of the audio equipment I had was just confined to this one room and it didn't take up my living room, my halls, and my second bathroom. It would be beautiful. Having that much free space for all the activities would be a beautiful thing. That's not the world I live in, though. And I think I am okay with that because I do have a little bit of income from this hobby. All of the extra stuff outside of this room is more of a business requirement. Maybe not a requirement, but something that I justify because it is somewhat of a business. If I didn't have this YouTube channel, if I didn't review mics, I would get rid of all of it. All of that stuff, gone. And live a much happier, less cluttered life. All of that stuff is a bit of a burden. I think, oh, when I move, this is going to be so stressful. It is going to be such a nightmare because it's not clothes. It's not just plates. It's not just a framed photo. Thousands of dollars of audio equipment, and I am trusting it to movers? I am dreading it. All of that stuff is more of a burden than anything else. So although I think it is okay to allow your hobbies, I don't know why I have been whispering a lot in this episode. This is so weird. Although I do think it's okay, I think you know your own line better than I can. I think you understand where the boundary ought to be. If you're asking me this question, if you're asking me, when does it become acceptable? Chances are you're coming up on that line, or you may have already surpassed it, and you're getting weird looks from people around you. Eldest, do you really need that 15th microphone? Do you really need that 17th camera and that 29th lens? I don't have anywhere to lay down. I got rid of my bed to fit another microphone, to fit another guitar, another amplifier, another computer game box case thing. You know the answer better than I do. But I think it's okay because the fact that you have a hobby that brings you joy is beautiful, to sound like a hippy-dippy douche. I think that's beautiful. I think everybody should have something like that. Some people don't. And that's very, very sad to me. I really am becoming a hippie. This is bad. Eldest, I hope that provided you some insight. As long as it doesn't have a negative impact on your life, I say rock and roll, embrace the hobby, suck as much joy out of it as you possibly can, because life is a terrible disaster and tragedy, and any amount of joy you can find, grab onto it and suck it dry. All right. To end on that cheery note, that is it.
Greetings, Bandrew. It is I, the eldest bro, obviously, and I have a question for you. So, my question is, at what point does it become reasonable to start dedicating your living space to your hobbies? So, I've recently been struggling trying to find a good balance between a nice, treated, quiet space for recording, for streaming, for voice chats, as well as the livability of using that space. Because I personally, and I know quite a few other people also share this issue, where we are living in a very small space, or we're living with other people, and we can't dedicate an entire room or an entire area of a large common area to our hobbies or to a recording space. And it becomes difficult to try and strike a balance between livability, ease of use, and meeting the criteria that you're trying to meet. So that is my question. At what point should someone start making those sacrifices to convert their actual living space into an area just dedicated to their hobbies? This has been the Eldest Bro. Can't wait to hear what you have to say.